Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's Taco Tuesday, the 9th of June, 2026. Yeah, more of the same. You don't know what to believe. You feel like you're standing up in a hammock with roller skates on, juggling chainsaws, trying to figure it all out? Me too. You won't be trusted anymore. Hi, welcome to the Tuesday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, here, WTF with the facts. And if those facts make you exclaim, what the WTF? Well, then so be it. It's not like we don't have enough good reason. Anyway, before we get started today, there's a couple of topics I want to hit on. First off, we all know that the elections are going on, primaries going on, mayoral race going on in California, and they're still counting the ballots. Yeah, that's probably going to go on for a few more days. There's no voter fraud going on. Nah, couldn't happen. No, never in a million years. Anyway, I've got a solution for solving this issue with voter fraud, and it may not be the most, effective or the most perfect way of ensuring that we have some integrity in our elections, but it sure wouldn't hurt. But I'll get to that in a couple of seconds. But I before I get rolling, I just want to mention to you that you regular listeners out there, you know that this broadcast is brought to you in part by the WavWatch. And I got to tell you, folks, more and more people are getting on board with that. There was, let me see if I could pull this up, about 6 or 7 months ago. And now you regular listeners know I've been talking about the WavWatch for quite some time. At least 2 years. Right after it came out, I was in touch with Linda Banber Olson, and this is why I stand behind the product, because I know that Tesla technology, Rife technology works. As a matter of fact, Dr. Brian Ardis started screaming from the rooftops about the WavWatch. Here's what he said, this is about 6 or 7 months ago.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Ardis, host of the Dr. Ardis Show, and this is an exciting special presentation about one of our amazing trusted partners that we have been collaborating with and using their devices and products, my wife and I both, for the last several years. So I'm very excited to have, once again, the inventor, the creator of the WavWatch, of which I have both of them here. The new models and their new branding, color schemes. Look at these fancy little watches. They're amazing. And we use these and wear these every single day. And they emit sound frequencies that help to heal the body, of which it's been known for millennia that sound creates these frequencies and wavelengths of sound that enhance the function of cells in the human body.
Okay, I'm going to pause that right there because, like I said, this is for real. This stuff actually works. And as a matter of fact, there's another podcaster out there. He calls himself Man in America. His name is Seth Holhouse. And he's jumping on board as well. And as you just heard, Dr. Ardis was talking about sound and frequencies. I mean, this has been, they've known about this for a millennia, as they say. And as a matter of fact, Seth Holhouse brought up the issue about all the church bells. Yeah, the church bells that they took down because of the quote-unquote war effort. There was a story behind that. Anyway, here's Seth Holhouse talking about the same thing.
Did you know that in the last few centuries, over 500,000 bells have been destroyed? There were literally bell graveyards. Now, the textbooks tell us that this was to use the metal, but if you've ever gone down this rabbit hole, you discover that the sounds that these bells made had amazing healing properties. There are even claims that certain regions with lots of these bells, church bells, etc., were mostly untouched by the bubonic plague. Now, your doctor might call you a conspiracy nut for thinking that, but even modern science recognizing the healing power of sound. So check out this study from the NIH. Doctors used sound therapy on chronic back pain, and they found, quote, significant reductions in pain sensation and pain-related disability. But here's the best part. You don't need some fancy, expensive sound equipment to find relief. So a woman named Linda Banber Olson created something called the WavWatch. So this little device has over 1,200 frequencies that you can use for everything from joint pain to brain fog to insomnia. So I've got one and I've been using it for about 6 months. This is it right here. And I can tell you honestly that it works. Like if I'm feeling sickly or have something kind of coming on, it's the first thing that I'll reach for. And honestly, I start feeling better within minutes. And that's literally my firsthand experience with it. Even my little kids love wearing it. And here's how much Linda believes in this watch. So if you get one and you don't notice any improvements, you can send it back for a full refund within 30 days. No questions asked.
Yeah, that's the same deal that she's offering when you order the WavWatch through the WTF reports. And I just wanted to share that with you because I'm not the only one that's been screaming from the rooftops. I just happen to be a little bit before everybody else. But this is why I wanted to share with you. This is catching on. Dr. Ardis is using it. I saw an interview with Jan Helper Hayes, if you know who Jan Helper is, and she was wearing one. So it's getting out there, folks. The WavWatch works, and you can get a hefty discount if you go to our website, TheWTFReports.com. The pop-up will take you right to an area where you can find out all about the WavWatch, how and why it works, and you'll get, like I said, a hefty discount if you order through the website. So go to our website and get yourself a WavWatch. Okay. To say you want everything. Bam. Okay. I just wanted to share that, get that intro out there because, it's catching on, and I would feel like I'm doing a disservice if I didn't share that with you. And there's a lot of good reasons why people are looking at alternative sources for treating maladies, illnesses, diseases. And, of course, this is all for your informational and entertainment purposes only. But I felt it's kind of important, excuse me, because like I said, people are looking at different sources for information to help themselves and to make themselves feel better. Now, we're hearing a lot about detoxing, getting rid of parasites. Yes, you want to do that. And ivermectin, yes, the horse paste. Yeah, ivermectin, fembendazole, they're finding out more and more that these medications that have been demonized and ridiculed. Oh, it's horse goo. You know, there's a reason they were doing that. There's a very good reason, because they want to protect their profits. They're not in it for your health. They're in it to make money. That's as simple as that. That's what's wrong with our entire healthcare system and the pharmaceutical companies. The bottom line is their bottom line. They don't give a rat's butt about how healthy you are. Well, they do. They just don't want you healthy because, as they say, a repeat customer is the best customer. So what incentive do they have to find a cure for anything? Now, they don't want a cure. They want lots of treatments. Yeah, you take this drug, and then if you have a reaction or if there's side effects, you might have to take this drug and then take that drug to counteract this drug, and then you take this supplement, and then you develop an allergy. I mean, it goes on and on and on, and that is the business model. That's why I'm talking about stuff like the WavWatch. You know, there are ways around this stuff. But I want to take you back about 2.5, 3 years. I'm not quite sure when this happened, but there was a spokesperson. His name is Matthew Liao, Liao, and he was talking about, you know, the Lone Star tick. Now, again, this is going back several years. I'm not quite sure when this was, but he was talking about the Lone Star tick. Now, in between, I'll tell you what, I'm going to play this clip in the just to kick it off so we can talk a little bit more about this Lone Star tick. Here's Matthew Liao.
2 examples. So one is that people eat too much meat, right? And if they were to cut down on their consumption on meat, then they would it would actually really help the planet. But people are not willing to give up meat. Yeah, you know, some people will be willing to, but other people, they may be willing to, but they have a weakness of will. They say, wow, this steak is just too juicy. I can't do it. I'm one of those, by the way. So, you know, but so here's the thought, right? So it turns out that we know a lot about, we have these intolerance to, for example, I have milk intolerance, and some people are intolerant to crayfish. So possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat, to certain kinds of bovine proteins. And there's actually analogs of this in life. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you'll become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of possibly address really big world problems through human engineering.
Through human engineering. Now, don't think for a New York minute that people like Bill Gates didn't have their ears perk up on this one. Yeah, because we know that Bill Gates and several others have been heavily investing in lab-grown meat. And, of course, a lot of people, we all know that there's fake meat out there. We've seen the stuff on the supermarket. You try it out, and it's yuck. That's not too good. So the point is that so Bill Gates is out there, and he wants to be able to sell his lab-grown meat. Well, what better way than to figure out a way how to make people allergic to real meat so they'll have to go to his lab-grown meat? Well, glory, Oski, Hucky, Dory, what do you know? Guess who's involved in the development and dispersion, hypothetically, allegedly, into these Lone Star ticks that are showing up all over the place? As a matter of fact, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was talking about that in a recent press conference. The person running the press conference, I forget who the woman was, but she'd wanted everybody to move on. Here's what Robert F. Kennedy said about the Lone Star tick.
Last week, I went to New Hampshire to announce a series
hold on,
of
caller.
to address this explosion of alpha-gal, and how we're taking it very seriously. One of the epicenters is Martha's Vineyard, where 50% of the adult population is now affected. It is really a devastating disease. You can't eat red meat for the rest of your life. We are looking at medications that can serve as both prophylactics and also potentially cures for it. We're funding those studies now, and we're working with the companies that are making those. We're also launched a major effort on tick control through a number of different strategies that address deer populations. The fact the three ticks that are causing most of the tick-borne diseases all breed on deer, and we're looking at strategies for limiting their breeding capacity.
And any idea if the tick boxes, whether that claim is true?
We're going to move on from that. Thanks.
Oh, she said we're going to move on from that. All these farmers around the country have been reporting the fact that these boxes mysteriously show up on their property with hundreds of thousands, millions of ticks being released onto their land. And there was one person that posted a video that they caught a helicopter flying over their land and lowering down a rope or something like that and dropping off a box and flew away. Oh, this is all allegedly, of course. All right, well, there's a punchline to this story with the alpha gal, and I'll get to that in just a second, but we have a phone caller on the line. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from? Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Dave, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you good. Thank you for holding. Go ahead.
Okay, this is James from Mississippi.
James, welcome to the show. Are you a first-time caller?
Yep.
You are?
Yeah, but I'm not a first-time individual in your presence.
Okay, well, thank you for calling in. You get the whistle for being a first-time caller. What's on your mind?
Okay, first of all, I was there at the Preparedness Expos every time you and Joyce were there.
Oh, my God.
3 times Dallas.
Yeah,
that's 3 times Dallas, 2 times Atlanta, and 1 time on the mall in Washington, D.C.
Wow, that's got to be, 28 years ago. That was before Y2K.
Let's just say you and I have shaken hands more than once.
Okay, well, I'll shake it again through the microphone.
Listen,
my hands are shaking. Oh, my God.
You about today, excuse me. But what I'm calling you about today is the WavWatch.
Yes, sir.
it is imperative that you are very hydrated as you are using it.
Yes, it is, always.
Okay. You did not mention that, but that is very, very important.
Sure. There's it's good to stay hydrated in any situation, but especially when you're using a device like that, or you're involving yourself in detoxing or anything like that. It's always good to hydrate.
I've had mine now for quite some, I don't know how many years. Right after you started broadcasting and advertising it, I bought it. And it's helped my hip pain. It's helped my shoulder pain. It does work, but you got to be hydrated.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's all. I just want to leave you with that. And my brother, you have a good day.
Well, thank you so much for calling and just basically reinforcing what we've been saying all along about the WavWatch. It actually works. Yeah. It really does.
Oh, and I'm also a Taylor guitar player, too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've got my Taylor 214 Custom. I really like it. And it's easy to play, got a beautiful tone. And what else could you want from a good guitar? So.
I'm looking at mine right now. So well, you have a good day, my friend.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the call and your listenership. You take care. God bless. All right. Well, there you go. Another person that's been using the WavWatch. So, I'm not blowing smoke here, folks. So, again, go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and the pop-up will take you right down to the information about the WavWatch. Okay, now back on this issue about the alpha-gal syndrome. Now, we just heard from Matthew Lau, that was a couple years ago, talking about how just wonderful it would be if we could make everybody allergic to red meat. And, of course, like I was saying, Bill Gates has got his fingers in all kinds of stuff. And the manufacture of lab-grown meat and the dispersion, allegedly, of the Lone Star tick to basically make everybody allergic to real meat, so they have to buy Bill Gates' lab meat. Well, you know what? Bless his heart, Dr. Nicholas Fulcher, he has been making the rounds. He's all over the place on social media because and he's on television. He's being interviewed all over the place because his research is impeccable. Now, you're not going to believe what you're about to hear from Dr. Fulcher, but he has been looking into this alpha-gal syndrome as well. And here's what he has to share. Listen to this. Keep an open mind. Wait till you hear this.
We do have a potential cure for alpha-gal, and I say potential, it's got to be verified, but and I got to lay this out. So a peer-reviewed study, we found it last week, and 96% of patients with alpha-gal in the study had complete remission of their symptoms.
Okay, stop it right there. I'll repeat that. 96% of the people in the study had complete remission from alpha-gal syndrome. How did that happen? What did they do, you might ask?
Guess what it was?
What was it?
Ear acupuncture.
What?
Ear acupuncture, it cured 96% of them. They reported their symptoms were completely gone. And so what that involves is, and it's very strange. I didn't believe it. I thought, no way this can work. No way this procedure and how they did it was real. But 96% you can't argue with. So what they did was they had a vial of containing alpha-gal, and the patient would touch just the outside of the vial. They would use some sort of electrical detection device around the ear, and they would see which area on the ear has the highest signal while you're touching that vial. They find the spot. They put a small needle into that spot. They tape it. They leave it there for 3 weeks. When the 3 weeks are gone, they take the needle out, and 96% of them could eat meat again.
Wow. From an unlikely source. And again, Dr. Fulcher, he's got a lot of credibility behind him, and I'm sure he wouldn't jeopardize his reputation by going out on a skinny limb and saying that acupuncture can take care of alpha-gal syndrome. He wouldn't do that unless he had some very powerful data to back him up. So this is something that we all need to start thinking outside of the cage, not outside the box. Boxes are made out of cardboard or flimsy wood. No. The powers that be, through their propaganda, through their manipulation of the media, through their gaslighting, through their history revisionism, yes, they have created quite a powerful cage to keep the American people, and indeed the people of the world, shall we say, restricted from learning certain things. And so we're learning about frequency. Yeah, we're learning about why they took down all those church bells and why a lot of these cathedrals were designed for resonating the frequencies. Frequencies. Sound frequencies, light frequencies, electrical frequencies. And now we're finding out that, acupuncture actually has an effect. Got to start thinking outside the cage, folks. Allopathic medicine and pharmaceuticals / burn and cut mentality is fading away. Yeah, it's the Rockefeller school of medicine that has destroyed the health of this country and indeed the Western world. So, we got to turn the clock back over a century, and not just about the medical, allopathic medical system and the pharmaceutical system, the banking system, the educational system. We now know who is behind the publication of all the textbooks for all of the school kids in public schools and all of the students in colleges and universities. Yes, the same people publishing those textbooks, they all have an agenda, and they're all tied together. And I'll give you one guess as to which group of people is behind it. I don't even have to go there. Anyway, enough on the alpha-gal syndrome. Hopefully that information will help you cock your head to one side and go, And for those of you who actually get it and figure it all out, now you have yet another reason to go, WTF! They've been holding back on this information for for generations, not just our lives, but for generations. Anyway, change of gears, change of subject. Briefly, I'm going to go into this. I've talked about this in the past. People say, Dave, you're crazy. That's okay. I'm used to it. But let's look at what's going on in California right now. There's an election going on. Well, actually, the election supposedly is over, but the ballot counting continues for days. That's because the mail-in ballots keep on arriving. Well, I'm telling you, folks, we all know now that we have very, very good reason to doubt our system of elections. Our voting system is hopelessly corrupt, especially when you've got all these mail-in ballots. I mean, Nick Shirley was on the news again, talking to people who were on the voting rolls. As one woman says she was 126 years old and she'd voted 50 times. So they had the address. They went there. Woman says, you're crazy. That's my name. Yeah, my name's Doris, but no, I'm not 126 years old. And no, I haven't voted 50 times. So we know that the systems are screwed up, but I do have a solution, folks. This would actually, it wouldn't be the most accurate way of counting, but I tell you right now, it would stop dead in the tracks any effort to throw an election. And I've talked about this. Gosh, I guess this was got to be at least, it was during the Bush-Gore back in 2000. Yeah, a quarter century ago. I was talking about this. What's it called? It's called boots on the ground voting. Boots on the ground voting. Here's how it works. And it's stupid simple, and it probably won't work, but I think it's open for consideration. Okay, so Election Day. Number one, Election Day is a national holiday. Nobody works. No, nobody. Everything shuts down, just like any other holiday. Okay, yes, essential services. Yeah, I get that. Okay, but for the most part, the banks are closed. Everything's closed. And so everybody goes to vote, and you go and you vote in your typical way. And you will go to your precinct or wherever it is, and you fill out your paper ballot. Make sure you get a receipt from it, or at least take a picture of it. And you fill out your paper ballot. Now, here's how it works. We all know we got two major parties. We got a Republican Party and a Democrat Party. And there's independents as well. But let's face it, we're stuck with a two-party system, all right? So what you're going to do is on Election Day, you're going to go to a party. Yeah, you get to go to a party. After you go to vote, you go to a specified location, and in every precinct, every precinct or voting district has its own assigned location for the Republican Party. Yeah, all you Republicans, you go to this location and party, all right? And all the Democrats, you go to this location over here and have a party. Yeah, tailgate. Bring some beers and some, hot dogs and weenies, whatever you want to do. You're going to have a party. And so here's what happens. On Election Day, everybody votes, and they go to their respective parties. Now, in this particular town or province or whatever, okay, over at this location where all the Republicans were gathering for a party, at a specific time, let's say 4 p.m, you take a picture of the crowd. And at the same time, you go to the Democrat Party and take a picture of that crowd. Now, you can get a real good idea. I mean, let's say that you take a photograph and you could see that there's probably 2,000 people at this party over here. And yet at the other party, there's only about 200 people. So we know that, okay, in this particular town or province or city or whatever, in this precinct, you had 10 times more people that showed up for this party than showed up for that party. And then the vote tally starts coming in, and they try to tell you it's a close race. Yes, it's determined by only a few hundred votes. You know you're being fed bull feathers. You know right away this would stop that type of crap going on. When you have physical boots-on-the-ground voters showing up at a particular location at a specific time and everybody smiles for the camera, here we are. And yet when they try to tell you that the voting is so close, you'll know that they're manipulating it. So this is why I'm saying boots on the ground, yeah, you're not going to get a totally accurate count, but you'll stop dead in the tracks this bull crap about every doggone race. It's too close to count right now. Oh, yeah, it's Nick and you'd stop all that. So I think that this is something that's worthy of consideration. Don't you? I'd love to hear your response on that. Do you want to give me a call? I'll entertain your call. Am I nuts? Is it stupid? Yes, I know it's not the most accurate way to have an election, but we're not having the election. The election's done with the ballots. This is basically preventative measure to stop the manipulation. So, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think this would work? 215-867-8255.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And as always, you can get More Tank by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. Don't forget the THE. Don't forget THE. TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page. It'll take you down to an area where you can click on Get More Tank and learn all about why this fuel catalyst works the way it does. not an additive, it's a catalyst. It changes the way your fuel burns. It's more efficient, it's cleaner, it gives you more power, and after a few tanks, your engine adjusts and you start getting better mileage. And you'll enjoy anywhere between 15 and 20% better mileage, depending upon your make, model, and year of vehicle, and, of course, your driving habits. But at this particular time in our economic history, I don't think you need to be a brain surgeon to figure out that the price of fuel is going up and up and up, and I don't see it coming down anytime soon. It's being weaponized, but that's another conversation altogether. Point is, we all know how much fuel costs, especially diesel. And by the way, this stuff works in diesel as well. So if you're getting 20% better mileage and you purchase Get More Tank, you get 5 tablets per envelope. That means if you're getting 20% better mileage and you use 1 tablet per tank, that means your 5th tank is free. Do the math. It's a no-brainer. Your engine runs cleaner, it runs more, it has more power, and you're going to save a tank full of gas for every purchase. It makes no sense not to use it, folks. Go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and get more tank. Okay, it's 36 and a half minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in. And again, I'm entertaining your phone calls. If you think I'm nuts about this boots-on-the-ground concept for voting, I'd love to hear from you. Do you think this could work? Is it a good idea? Is it stupid? I don't care. Give me a call, 215-867-8255. Okay, changing gears and subjects once again. This issue with the Iran war and with Israel, I don't know what to say about this. We all know that Trump is being manipulated by Bibi Netanyahu. We know that most, I can't say all, but most of our Congress and our Senate and all of our businesses, all the corporations, the media, Hollywood, big pharma, big oil, you name it. It's all being manipulated and controlled by a particular group of people who actually represent a very small percentage of the population, but they have a huge percentage of the power and control in this country. Now, a lot of people are not too keen on that, and this is, of course, affecting what's going on with this war with Iran. Now, there are certain people out there that have been screaming about, Iran is only weeks away from a nuclear bomb, and we've been hearing about that for, 30 years? Let me see, 95? Yeah, 30 years, at least. But anyway, so now we're finally giving a stroke for those individuals who want and lust for that war. So now they got it, okay? Now they got this war going on, and a lot of people are saying, wait a second, how is it that we got stuck into this mess? How the heck do we get out of this mess now? I mean, anyway, Anna Kasparian was... before I do that, okay, let me do this. Judge Napolitano and Larry Johnson, former CIA analyst, were talking about the ceasefire and or the non-ceasefire. They keep saying, yeah, there's a ceasefire. And so as soon as they declare a ceasefire, within minutes, one of the two parties go, oh, so much for the ceasefire. There is no ceasefire. Okay, maybe there's a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, but there certainly is no ceasefire between Israel and southern Lebanon. And the Iranians are saying, look, that's not a ceasefire. You're supposed to cease firing. No guns, no bombs, no missiles. You stop. That's what a ceasefire is. But we ceasefire with you. We don't ceasefire with them. No. You're supposed to cease the firing. But anyway, we all know who's zooming who at this point, especially now with this Section 224 and 622 and all this other stuff that's before our Congress to basically give all of our military hardware, all of our intel, everything gets turned over to Israel. Let that settle in. Anyway, I digress. Here's Judge Napolitano and former CIA analyst Larry Johnson talking about the so-called ceasefire. Here it is.
Our friend and colleague Alistair Crooks says the Iranian attitude in a nutshell is ceasefire for all or ceasefire for none.
Yeah.
Does anybody think Trump can restrain Netanyahu?
Yeah. Well, actually, yes. That's sort of what the Pakistanis are betting on, that Trump will come to his senses. Robert Barnes told me yesterday, we were on a panel discussion, but so he told others as well, but that this pollster, Richard Barris, who's a very well-respected and competent pollster, was actually called to the White House this last week and delivered Trump and company the bad news. He said basically the Trump is viewed as Bibi's prison girlfriend. That he is.
That was
only
good.
You could come up with that, Larry. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Well, Trump is he's at the beck and call of Israel, and that it is killing the Republicans in the polls, killing them. Now, what we have also discussed previously that from the time when Pepe and I got the heads up that there was that Iran had threatened that, hey, if all this attack and pressure continues against us, we're going to detonate a test nuke to show you what we've got. Since that point that we had heard that, we'd noticed a complete change in Trump's rhetoric, how he talked about Iran, not about how he talked about Israel, but he changed how he was talking about Iran. And we've seen that even in the last 24 hours. He's not coming out condemning Iran and siding with Israel. He's taken sort of a middle ground. And so I think there is some real substance to this, or the real depth. They do believe they may be close to a deal. And even his language that the blockade will remain in place until the deal is agreed on.
Okay, so maybe there's something going on. Maybe they're coming closer to a deal. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that over 60% of Americans now do not support Israel. And this is why they are scared to death about all these people speaking out against Israel, and they're trying desperately. If you don't support Israel, you're an anti-Semite. Yeah, you're an anti-Semite, yeah. And they're trying to link Zionism and Judaism together, and it's not working. It's not working. And they're lying through their teeth. And I know I've said it before, and I'll keep on saying it. When you got people like Ted Cruz misquoting Scripture deliberately, Mike Huckabee misquoting Scripture deliberately, not once, but numerous times. You don't. If you are on a righteous cause, you don't have to lie. A lie needs another lie for support, but the truth stands alone. It's not hard to tell the truth. It's real hard to lie, but and that's just the way it is, and so as we look at this whole situation, just, festering, this war over there in Iran. Now, look, I'm not going to be sympathetic. Some of you are going to say, what, do you hate your country? You hate your country. No, I hate war. I hate lies. And if you have to lie to get yourself into a war, well, then maybe that war isn't worth warring over. Remember back, 25 years ago? Saddam Hussein. Yeah, Saddam Hussein. He's got weapons of mass destruction, WMD. WMD. Remember George Bush? Where's the WMD? Can't find it over here. Whoops, not over there. Yeah, and Colin Powell? Where did they get that intel? Who told them that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction? One guess. That's right. Bibi Netanyahu. He was feeding them intel. And so now we've been listening to Bibi Netanyahu. Iran is only a couple of weeks away from a war. Look at, here's a picture of a bomb. They have a bomb. Doesn't work yet, but they are going to make it work. For 30 years. Okay. So we all know that he's had a Jones for getting into war because they have this Greater Israel Project. Yeah. If you haven't looked at it, I was talking to one person and they said, oh, come on, Dave. They're not doing that. I said, it's right on their freaking patch on the IDF soldiers. You know, I mean, there's so many people that are in denial about this stuff. And I know it's hard to swallow. I mean, I've gone through several different stages during my education of life. You know, and I started tumbling down the rabbit hole back in early 90s. You know, I'll be honest, folks, I never signed up to be, you know, a political commentator or anything like that. If somebody held a gun to my head 40 years ago and said, hey, Dave, you're going to become a talk show host and you're going to be talking about politics and health issues, I would have told them you're out of your mind. I'm a musician. I don't give a rat's butt about that stuff. But I started tumbling down the rabbit hole because I started to realize, you know, like I said in the liner notes of my first album, I said, if you become aware of a lie and you do nothing to expose the lie, you become part of the lie. And I won't be part of the lie. I'm going to tell the truth, you know, even if it hurts. And I'm not the only one who is screaming about the truth. All I want is the truth now. Just give me some truth now. That's all I want is the truth. That's what John Lennon said. And I had a lot of admiration for John. Yeah, he screwed a few things up too. But anyway, the bottom line here is that, like I said, there's a million lies, but there's only one truth. And when it comes to this whole thing about Iran and the war and killing other people, you know, bombing the the school where 160-odd children were blown to pieces by a Tomahawk missile. And then all the parents and the first responders get there. Oh, my God, we got to rescue the kids. Oh, my God. And they start going through and trying to get the survivors out. And bam, they get hit again with another Tomahawk. That's called a double tap. And then more people start to come in. And bam, they get hit again with another tap. That's a triple tap. That was not a mistake. That was not, some sort of error. Yeah, I mean, they knew exactly what was going on. This is disgusting. I'm ashamed of my country for allowing them, for having this to happen. You know, and let's face it, Iran hasn't gone to war with anybody. I don't necessarily agree with the Ayatollah and their particular belief system and his regime. You know, people in Iran want to be free. As a matter of fact, before I started waking up, back in it was the late 70s. I was working at the University of Hartford in Hartford, Connecticut, and I was working at the Student Union building. And I was with the maintenance. I was one of the lead people in the maintenance crew there, and so I was all over the Student Union building, and I knew everybody. I knew all the people in the offices, and I knew a lot of the students, and there was a whole group of them that were Iranians, and they were fun guys. Used to play foosball with them and hang out with them. Not a problem. And Iran was in a totally different mindset then. But anyway, I digress. The point is that, look, we all bleed red blood. We all want the same things. We want food, shelter, clothing, and love. Those are the things that we survive on. And I don't care what your nationality is. I don't care what your skin color. I don't care if you're white, black, brown, red, yellow, perp. I don't give a hoot. And I don't care, if you're Jewish or Christian or Muslim or Hindu, but I don't care. We all bleed the same red blood. And the bottom line here is we have all been brought up in a matrix. We've been lied to. And I don't care what religion you are, all of them. You Christians out there, you were lied to also. Jews, you've been lied to. Muslims, you've been lied to. All these religions, I don't believe in religion. And I don't think God does either. I use that analogy. I mentioned that a couple days ago, maybe yesterday, maybe last week. I don't know. But, you got two people who are arguing. They both claim to have the truth. And if that's the case, that means this guy's right, the other guy's wrong. Or that guy's right, and this guy's wrong. They can both be wrong, but they can't both be right. And that's the way it is, not just with denominations in Christianity. And again, like I said, okay, if there's 1,500 denominations, best case scenario, 1,499 of them are wrong, and only one of them is right. But I would contend that they're all wrong. One of them has all the truth. And truth is like, it's either it's truth or it's not. You can't be mostly pregnant. And it can't be mostly truth. That's just the way it is. And as far as I'm concerned, God hates religion. Because religion is what caused so many wars through all of mankind's history. Anyway, I digress a bit here. But the point is, we all have to discover a little bit of humility, shun our ego, turn away from our pride, and start realizing, yes, we all have to figure out how to live on this planet. And I refer to Jacques Fresco. If you ever checked out the Venus Project, there's a documentary film that I would highly recommend. It's called The Choice is Ours. Let me see if I can find it here. Your choices, I believe it came out 10 years ago in 2016. Let me see, where is it? Anyways, I've got about like 25, 30 tabs open on my computer. Anyway, bottom line here is that we have to figure out how to live together. Like Rodney King said, can't we all just get along? Yes, I suppose I'm an idealist. Yes, maybe you could see me as a utopianist. But what's wrong with wanting the ideal? What's wrong with trying to create utopia? I will tell you, folks, it's not going to happen until we shed our ego and our pride and realize that we're not on this planet to garner stuff and power. Nobody's going to know who you are in 100 years. So what point is your quote-unquote legacy? I want to leave my legacy. I could care less about my legacy. And you know what? Your descendants, if you're lucky enough to have any, in 100 years, they won't know who you are. And frankly, they probably won't care either. Like I said, I got boxes down in the basement here of photo albums that belong to my grandmother. I don't know who these people are. I look at some of these pictures. It's like the closing shot in the movie The Shining. Remember The Shining? When the camera starts to zoom in on this group photo. It was taken years and years and years ago until you finally zoom in, and there's Jack Nicholson right in the front there. Okay, but I don't know any of these people. And if you're in a group photo, I tell you, 100 years from now, if somebody looks at that photo, they're not going to know who you are either. So the point is that you are here today. You are here now. What you do today and what you do now is the only thing that's important. Because you can't take it with you. And I got to be honest with you, folks. A lot of you know my history. You know my background. You know that, back in the 90s, I was married to Joyce, and Joyce and I were traveling around the country trying to help the Gulf War veterans from their exposures to chemicals and biologicals and experimental vaccines and pills. That's what we were doing in the 90s. And then in the early 2000s, of course, we did the Power Hour for years, until, Joyce and I went separate ways. And the bottom line here is that one of the reasons why I ejected from the whole scene is because I saw so many people in the Patriot movement, in the 9/11 movement, whatever movement, and for whatever reason, the motivating factors for them was to make money and to get famous or to get some sort of power. And if you're in it for those reasons, I've said it for years, you're in it for the wrong reasons. I don't give a crap about the money, I really don't. And I've won and lost, not one, but two fortunes. Not that I care, it's just stuff. It's just money. And as far as the accolades and the praise and all that kind of stuff, I didn't feel comfortable with that. Driving across country and pulling into a Flying J to fill up and get a cup of coffee and a banana or something like that, and somebody says, hey, aren't you the guy that did that 9/11, the 9/11 videos? And he says, yeah, leave me alone. I don't care about that crap. And that's all it is. I just want the fighting to stop, and I want people to be able to live free and live healthy and not be oppressed by, some dictatorial, totalitarianistic regime that lusts for money and power. And this has been going on for the hundreds and hundreds and, for millennia. There is a group of people that has it in their head that they want to rule the world. It's going to be my way, my God, my system. It just, who would Jesus bomb? I can't help but think of that. Anyway, I'm sorry. I went off on a little bit of a rant there, and sorry about that. Anyway, I wanted to get to Anna Kasparian. Bless her heart. There's a lot of people out there that are screaming from rooftops, rightfully so, about what Israel has been doing. And my heart goes out. I went to a local classical piano concert last night, and it was great music and the whole thing. And there were several people there, and one of them was a rabbi. And I started thinking, I don't have animosity towards any of these people who in my community who are Jewish, because they have nothing to do with going on with Israel. A lot of Jews, just like a lot of Christians, people who claim to be good Christians, but they're not familiar with Scripture. They're not going to church all the time. They're sort of like Christians in name only. And the same thing you could say about Jews. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because there are a lot of innocent Jews that have no flaming clue about what's going on. And yet they're going to be persecuted because of the acts of these other Jews, or this other group that claim to be Jews that are not. Anyway, again, I digress. I want to get back to Anna Kasparian because she was taking Ben Shapiro over the coals. Of course, we just came on yesterday was the anniversary of the attack on the USS Liberty, so that's been a topic of conversation. And there are certain people like Ben Shapiro that want to divert and say it wasn't what it was, but whatever. Point is that Anna Kasparian went off on Ben Shapiro. Here's what she had to say. Come on there. Play.
So who loves America more, Ben? Whatever you do. I'm telling you, do not do this. Do not look up the Apollo affair of the 1960s when Zellman Shapiro, Ben Shapiro's uncle, was the president of the Nuclear Materials and Equipment Corporation in Apollo, Pennsylvania, where hundreds of kilograms of highly enriched uranium just went missing. Don't look that up. Don't look that up. Don't look up the NSA archives as I did. Don't look up the declassified FBI documents on that. Because Ben seems to come from a long line of individuals, family members, who seem to prioritize and value Israel before the United States. So don't you dare tell me that I'm anti-American, because I refuse to bow down to Israel, because I refuse to call whoever Israel claims is a terrorist. I think Israel is full of terrorists, and I think Ben is full of crap. Sit down, Ben, and shut up.
Won't you tell us how you really think, Anna? Oh, man. And then there's also the connection with Erica Fransby Kirk's mom. That's another really interesting trail to follow down. And that's we can thank Candace Owens and several others for continuing their investigation on that. TPUSA is absolutely imploding now, because people are actually starting to think outside the cage, and I love it. I love seeing it. I only hope we can get out of this without destroying the rest of the country here. All right, boy, that hour went by quickly, didn't it? Yeah. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for the Taco Tuesday edition of the WTF Reports. If you're listening on Rumble, BitChute, Facebook, or YouTube, remember to click like, share, and subscribe. And above all else, spread the word by word of mouth. That's the best advertising. And you can also help us keep afloat here by doing some business with our advertisers. Get a WavWatch, pick up some Get More Tank. We've got merch. We got coffee cups, baseball caps, T-shirts, And you can also make a donation through the GoFundMe. So anyway, that said, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm out of here. And so should be back tomorrow. So until then, God bless. Stay safe. Stay free. And like I said, God willing, I'll see you tomorrow.
Anymore.